So, how you guys doing? Slugmonger. I think this one is funny because the name is the CRKT M16-13sfg. It's got it printed right there on the blade. And if you were to say that to anybody but a knife guy, somebody who knows what you're talking about, they would have no idea that's a bunch of letters and numbers. It's a whole bunch of gibberish. But it sounds like a name to us. I think that's awesome. Kit Carson design. The main reason I bought this is actually the VEF serrations. I wanted to get a better experience with VEF serrations, and honestly, I think this is too thin of a cutting edge with too soft of a steel 8CR14 MOV. I think it's a little bit too soft of a steel to actually support that thin of a cutting edge. Other than that, they're great. You can see the rolls that it's just not, it hasn't held up as well as the overall edge has. It's not an equivalent edge holding. I did try to sharpen them up a little bit. It's not the easiest thing to do. But this knife is just crazy. It doesn't ride in your pocket very well, but for what you're sacrificing with comfort, it has a freaking guard. This is a folding knife. This is a little Tonto folding knife with a guard. What is that? What is that shit about? I saw this thing in the store and it was just one of those, wow, is that real? It's an excellent flipper. Works quite well, but I mean, is this thing real? What the hell? I don't really carry this. I have carried it. I carried it the last couple days, which is what inspired me to do this. It's just a strange little thing. If somebody's a fan of this, then it's the most awesome thing in the world, right? But if you're not a fan of this, then you're like, what the hell? One thing that does honestly really bother me that I don't quite understand with the aesthetic of this, you can see this little, it's a stopping pin, right? That's actually the blade stop because it's not a thumb stud. And it's got texturing on it to, I think, match the G10 or match the pivot is why they actually did that, just from an aesthetic standpoint. Because you would think that that's in order, so that you can use it as a thumb stud. And it was as tucked in as it is right there, as flat as it is. You really got almost no access to that thing. You can't really get it out. And when you do, your hand is stopped and it's pinched up in there, and you got to get it past your skin. It really does not work as a thumb stud. I really don't think that's was the intended design. But then why did they give it the texturized pattern and make it so huge and prominent like it could be used as a thumb stud? I don't know. With all of that, the flipper does work really well. The flipper is an integral guard. Have I said that? This folding knife has a little integral guard. The reason I bought this, honestly, is back a few months ago, as closer to a year ago, I was on a Bowie knife kick, right? I was like, oh, I just need to collect Bowie knives. I was going for as many as I could get. And I saw this in the store, and it's obviously not a Bowie knife. If it had a clip point blade, this would be the closest thing to a folding Bowie knife that you could get. And that's really what drew me to it at first. And then the VEF serrations, I didn't have an experience with the VEF serrations. They've got a really good reputation. I think they are deserving of that. With, obviously what I said. Other than that, the overall knife is excellently constructed. I can leave this or do without it. The biggest problem for me is the fact that it's red. Why is it bright red? It's like a safety on a gun. You don't need it to be bright red and visible. The texturizing, you can see that it's actually textured. It's knurled all around there. So that's really nice. It gives you actually something that your finger, you don't really slip off. It works really well. And it disengages the lock. It does work. It works. It does its job, right? And they advertise this as a virtual fixed blade, which bothers me because this is not a virtual fixed blade. It's a little pin that slides in behind your liner lock and stops it from disengaging. This is not a virtual fixed blade, quote unquote, right? So I don't like the fact that they've advertised that because, any automatic knife, you can see any automatic, just knife, the Benchmade Barrage, right? There you go. It's an assisted knife. It's got a safety on it. So if you open that knife and then engage that safety, you can't close the knife because it blocks the axis lock from disengaging, right? So is that a virtual fixed blade as well? No, it's not. It's just a folding knife with a lock. This is the same thing except it's an automatically engaging lock. That's really the only difference. Once you get used to it, you can disengage it. It is very easy to do. It's not the most intuitive thing out there. It does require a little bit of playing around to actually get that motion down. And then even then it is a little bit cumbersome, but again, if you do like that idea, if you've got some type of nervousness, I mean, if you don't, I mean, if somebody's really worried about a liner lock disengaging or a knife disengaging on them, if they're doing that sort of hard work, if that's just something that's really a concern, then it's there and it does do its job. It's awesome. So love it or hate it. I'm not quite sure about the auto locks feature on these, but it does work. The pocket clip, for being as small and is kind of just general, you know what I mean? It's there's absolutely no flair to it, just general straight up pocket clip. It works decently well. You can see the way it's done there. I do need to adjust it. It's floating off in space a little bit, but G10 gives a decent amount of texture. This G10 is smoothed out over the period of time that I've had it. You can probably tell. You can see that there just from the wear in my pocket. It's definitely smoothed out. I like the lines because the pocket clip is adjustable. You can see the pocket clip is 4-way adjustable, right? And all the little holes that they've drilled all along it to kind of skeletonize the design goes along with the pocket clip holes, right? So it continues along, and then you've got a whole bunch of holes up here. Aesthetically speaking, I actually think it works really well. It looks really good, besides the fact that you've got these things sticking off the side. The biggest problem with those is trying to get stuff in and out of your pocket. I don't honestly notice them moving around. Carrying it, moving, bending over, I don't notice them. But as hold on one second. Yeah. I don't actually notice them in, or as far as motion, but every time I reach into my pocket, I grind on this thing. It's sitting in here like this, so I'm moving past it. I've never had it open. I've never had any problems with that blade actually opening up on me. Any of that. It's never happened, but mainly because it's jammed up against the side of my pocket. It's kind of impossible for it to happen in the first place. But this thing really does get in the way. I actually did pull my knife out almost all the way. It was still in my pocket, but it was off of the pocket clip, and it was like that much sticking out of my pocket because I pulled my keys out, and something on my keys hooked to this little lever and actually pulled this almost all the way out of my pocket. I can see if I did carry this consistently over a period of time, over a couple of years, I can imagine pulling stuff in and out of my pocket. I would probably drop my knife on the ground 1 or 2 times. So this it's just weird. I mean, I can't really say that I don't like it, but I can't really say that I do. You know what I mean? I'm so just ambivalent about this knife. It's got a hollow grind. Let me get the spec. Give you the specs. It's got a 3.5 inch blade length. It's 0.1 inches thick. 8 CR14 MOV. 8.25 inches overall. The closed length is 4.75 inches. It weighs 4 ounces. So great little knife. You know what I mean? 3.5 inches at 4 ounces. Hits all the specs. If this is what I would, for somebody who's going to be carrying this around, what else do I got? If I saw somebody carrying this thing around, I would just be like, hell yeah, man, you got that CRKT M16, whatever it is, whatever variant you got. The 13sfg is the Tonto version, but there's a little bit of a size comparison for you. I like the Kershaw Leak. I've been carrying this one around the last couple days in my left-hand pocket. Works pretty well, but yeah, CRKT M16-13sfg. Fun to say. Y'all have a good one.